What's going on, filmmaking homies and homettes? It's your boy Cody Blue, and today we're going to talk about how to use fake camera movements in post-production to add a little bit more motion to our videos.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Now you're probably wondering why am I in my snowboard gear, but that's because I had already recorded this intro talking about how we're almost to 10,000 subscribers and you guys should subscribe, but you completely blew that out of the water. We're already at 10K before I could even upload this video. So thanks for subscribing. I really appreciate that. And yeah, today we're talking about artificial camera movements in Premiere Pro. So we'll transition back to my living room here in just a second, but I figured we'd get a celebratory backflip for you guys while I'm out here on the snow, and then we'll talk about the tutorial, so check it out. All right, so let's get a backflip for you guys for hitting 10K. Here we go. Woo, let's get it. Woo! There you go, guys. Thanks so much for 10K. Now let's get into the tutorial.
Today we're talking about fake camera movements in Premiere Pro or just in post-production in general. This is a technique that I use in pretty much every single one of my videos just to add a little bit more cinematic motion to my footage. You guys may not even be able to tell in my videos when I'm actually using this technique, but that's a good thing because I want it to just add a little bit of oomph to my videos without really going over the top and making it super noticeable. So a lot of times that I'll use these fake camera movements is if I have my camera on a tripod, especially like say I'm filming myself. I know a lot of you guys don't have models, you're out filming by yourselves. So I'll use this technique when I have my camera on a tripod, I'm filming myself, and I want to add a little bit of motion to my footage. I'll also add it to try and make my edits flow a little bit better. So if I'm going from one clip to another clip and I want them to flow together nicely, I'll add some of this fake camera movement as well. And another time that I really like to use this is with my drone footage. I'll use those Dolly Zooms just to kind of add a little bit more of a creative edge to my drone shots. Instead of just having a straight drone shot, the Dolly Zoom kind of adds a little bit of a parallax effect that kind of gives it a really cool look. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Premiere Pro and we'll talk about the details of how I'm using fake camera motion to make my videos look a little bit more cinematic, flow better, more pleasing, all that good stuff. Let's get into Premiere Pro. All right, guys, welcome to my Premiere Pro. It's been a little while since we've done one of these like edit tutorials, so I'm stoked to hopefully teach you guys something new. By the way, sorry if my voice is still a little bit weird. I'm still just kind of lingering with the sickness a little bit, so I apologize if I sound a little crazy. But today we're talking about artificial camera movements in post-production. So I've got 4 groups of clips lined up for you guys here. We're starting with our very basics, and then we're going to talk about a shot that's actually moving, and then we're going to talk about Dolly Zoom with drones, and then finally I've got 4 clips lined up for you guys in a little sort of edit sequence so that you guys can see how I'm using artificial camera movements to kind of make my clips flow together a little bit better. So first we'll start here at the beginning with the very basics. Now, like I said before, I'm sure a lot of you guys don't always have somebody to come out and film with you and help you with camera movement and all that stuff. So I kind of just shot a couple clips on a tripod by myself so that I could show you guys how I'm using camera movement in post-production. So as you'll see, this is just a clip of me walking along the street on a stationary tripod, and that's about it. It's pretty boring. There's not really much going on, but we can add a little bit of motion to this clip super easy. First, I just want to make note that I am using the cinematic bars here on my clip, just because that's going to allow me to get a little bit more motion in my clip without any sort of weird cropping or anything like that. If you see, if I remove these cinematic bars and I move the clip, you can see I get cropped off at the top or cropped off at the bottom. So by using the cinematic bars, it allows me to prevent that cropping and use a little more motion in my footage. So I would definitely recommend using cinematic bars if you're planning on using this technique. Now let's add a little bit of motion to this clip. So the first thing we're going to do is move it all the way to the bottom as far as we can without going past our cinematic bars. So somewhere about there is good. And I'm going to set a keyframe. It looks like a keyframe was automatically added because I changed the position. But if yours doesn't automatically add, just go ahead and click the stopwatch. That will add your first keyframe. And then I'm going to move forward just a little bit, drag it all the way to the top so that I still have my cinematic bars in the correct position, and add another keyframe there. Then I'm just going to drag this keyframe to the end of the clip, and now we have motion from the beginning of the clip to the end of our clip. So if you check it out, we got a pretty simple pan here, panning up, from the bottom all the way up to the top of the clip, and that looks way better already than we had that static clip from previously. So again, if you're out shooting by yourself, this is a super easy way to add some motion to your clips and just make things look a little bit more cinematic, a little more pleasing, more fun to watch, all that good stuff. So one more clip we have here is another static clip. This time is in slow motion. It's of me walking on the beach. You guys might have seen this clip in my Mavic Pro video. So we're gonna try and add a little bit of motion to this clip as well, which is actually what I did in that Mavic Pro video. So let's talk about what we can do with this one. I don't want to do another up and down. I want to show you guys a little bit of a different motion. So let's do a left to right pan. Now you'll notice if we go up and do it the same way as the up and down pan, that we actually get cut off on the side here. And that's because the clip is only as wide as the frame. So what we need to do is we'll set that back, and I'm going to scale the clip up a little bit. Let's go like 120%. And then I'm going to reposition so that I can see everything nicely and making sure I don't have any black on this left edge here. So I'm just gonna move it just until I don't have any black at all. Let's go ahead and add a left to right pan now that we have some room to work with. So again, we'll add a keyframe to the beginning of our clip. I'm just gonna move somewhere into the middle, and I'm gonna drag it all the way as far to the left as I can without seeing any black on this edge here. So we'll go back, and now I don't have any black, and then I'm gonna take this keyframe, drag it to the end of my clip so that I have motion from beginning to end. Now we'll check out this one and see what it looks like. So we have a nice pan from left to right as I'm walking down the beach. It looks way cooler than the before clip. So that's how I'm adding some motion to my static clips. But let's talk about a clip that's actually moving. So I have this clip here. You guys have seen this clip before of this girl. She's snowboarding. She jumps onto the rail, but you can see her board actually gets cut off halfway through the clip, and then at the very end her legs actually get all the way cut off. So obviously that's not the best shot, and we don't want to use that, but we can totally fix it super easy. So what I'm going to do is start at the beginning. I really like the framing of the beginning of this clip, so this is all perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and keyframe my beginning position at the beginning of the clip here. I'm going to keyframe the position, and then what I'm going to do is go all the way to the last frame here once she lands, and then I'm gonna change my position so that it's nice and clear where she lands. So she lands right about there. I want to make sure my black bars are still set and everything looks good. So now super easy. I have a clip that's nicely framed throughout the entire clip. If I play this back one more time, she jumps onto the rail, the board is fully visible, and then when she lands, boom, her legs are fully visible as well. So that's just a way that you guys can use motion in clips that are moving to kind of reframe your subject, add a little more dynamics, and just make your clips look better. So I'll use this technique a lot if I'm filming like my girlfriend and I'm kind of panning up or panning down and maybe her head gets cut off kind of halfway through the clip. I'll just add a little bit of fake motion so that her head doesn't get cut off at the end of the clip. Now let's talk about drone footage. So this is a technique that I see a lot of people use in a lot of drone shots, and I think it looks super cool. It's one of those things that I actually don't think it's overused just because it looks cool. It's a good effect. So in this clip here, you can see we're coming up over the trees, moving towards the mountain, and it's a decent clip. It's okay, but it's kind of boring at the same time. So I actually used this effect in my intro, and what we're gonna do is just kind of add a dolly zoom to this effect. So since we're zooming in, our camera motion needs to be opposite, which means we need to zoom out. So the way that we're gonna do that is start at the beginning, and we're gonna increase the scale of our clip. We'll go to 125, just so that it's apparent for you guys what's actually happening. We'll keyframe at 125, we're gonna drag it to the beginning of our clip, and then we're gonna keyframe back down to 100 and drag that to the end of our clip. So super easy technique. We're pretty much done already. I'll play this clip back so that you guys can see what's happening. You'll notice the mountain is actually kind of shrinking into the background, even though we're zooming towards it. And that's why this is called a dolly zoom, is because it kind of adds a little bit of a parallax and just kind of makes the clip move a little bit more. And like I said, I think it looks super cool, super cinematic. So I'll show you guys one more clip with this same technique. As you can see, we're moving in towards the docks and we're kind of pointing our camera down as well, but we can use the same technique to kind of just add a little bit more motion. So here we'll go up to 120. Feel free to experiment with your scale. You can use whatever scale you think looks good. I'm just doing in the 120s for the sake of the tutorial. We'll add a keyframe at the beginning. We're gonna scale down to 100 and drag this keyframe to the end. And again, you'll see we get a little more motion. If you watch the horizon here too, you'll see it kind of is changing size over time. Check it out. Boom. So things are kind of moving in towards our horizon. They're kind of moving in this direction and this direction. Let's start at the beginning so that you guys can check it out. Boom. Again, it's just adding a little bit more motion. I think it looks super cool. It's very subtle, but it's a great way to take your drone footage to the next level. So now let's talk about how I use these techniques in an actual edit. So let's say this is my edit. I have 4 clips here lined up. We got our first clip, which is a static clip. Nothing's really going on. Into our next clip that's moving up, into our next clip that's moving up, and into our last clip that's kind of moving up, but not quite as much. So what can we do to actually make these clips flow together a little bit better, make them look nicer? And obviously we can add a little bit of camera motion to make that happen. Again, as you can see, this first clip is very static and it goes into a clip that's moving up. So pretty simply, we can add a little bit of upward motion to the end of this clip so that it transitions nicely into the next clip. So let's find a good starting point here. And I'm gonna keyframe this position. I'm gonna move forward a little bit and I'm gonna move all the way to the top of this frame here. And then I'm gonna drag this keyframe to the end of the clip. So if we check it out now, we have some upward motion, but it's gonna be pretty abrupt. So we're playing this clip and our upward motion starts and it's just kind of, it's too intense. It doesn't look real. It looks super fake and cheesy. It's like moving up and into the next clip, but the transition is nice. So what we need to do is actually smooth these keyframes out so that it's a little more smooth. It looks better. It's not too abrupt and we get a nice transition into our next clip. And the way that we can do that, if you guys don't know, is you can actually adjust the curve of your keyframes by using this little panel here. So what you do, you have your keyframe, you click this down arrow, and then you can adjust the curve here. So this graph is showing our velocity over time. So we want to start with a very low velocity, and over time we want it to go faster and faster and faster all the way to the end of the clip into the next clip. So the way that we do that is we'll take our first keyframe, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just so that you guys can see a little bit better. There. So we'll take our first keyframe, we're going to drag it all the way down here, and then we're going to grab this little handle and drag it out. Something like that. Now these are probably a little bit too close. I'm going to drag them farther apart, but now you can see our velocity is pretty much 0 because it's not moving at all. And once we get to the first keyframe, it starts to increase, but it's very gradual and it increases more and more and more and more and more as we get to the last keyframe. Now I'm going to make sure this goes all the way to the last keyframe there just by dragging the handle towards the right. And now you can see it's a nice smooth curve all the way up. I'm gonna drag this back just a little bit there. And then I'm gonna make sure this keyframe is at the end of my clip. So now I'll play this back and you guys will see it's a more smooth transition and it looks a lot better, a lot more natural. It looks like the camera is actually moving and not like you're just moving it in post-production. So check it out. And boom, as you can see, those clips fit together a lot more nicely now. And then these two clips go nicely into each other because we have upwards motion into upwards motion, moving up again. And then our last clip is also moving up, but not quite as much. So just to make it move a little bit more, we're gonna do what we kind of did in the beginning. And that's gonna be to bring our clip down. We're gonna add a keyframe, move the keyframe to the beginning, bring our clip up and drag this keyframe to the end. Now we have a little bit more motion. So we're moving up and moving up into the next clip as well. So that's kind of how I'm using this technique to make my edits flow a little bit more smoothly. As I said before, I'll do like a how to edit video and kind of go over all of these different techniques with you guys. But now you guys can see how I'm using artificial camera movements in my edits just to make my footage look a little more cinematic. All right, everybody, so there you go. That's how I'm using fake camera movements in my videos just to make things look a little bit more cinematic and make it flow a little bit better. But as you can probably tell, the possibilities with this technique are endless, especially if you're shooting in 4K. You have plenty of room to work with when you're using a 1080p timeline. So feel free to experiment, do whatever you want, be creative. You don't have to do everything the way that everybody else does it. So I just wanted to show you guys the way that I do it. But as always, please like this video if you like it. And like I said before, we're almost to 10,000 subscribers. So please hit me with a subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. But thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to send your questions to my Instagram at CodyBlue_. I'll try my hardest to answer any questions that you guys have. But that's the end of today's video. So until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.